The Chinese have sort of understood that they are able to play a successful counterposition to the United States by saying, well, the United States is going to give you a laundry list of things you should and shouldn't do to be able to trade with them, to be able to have good relationships with them, to be able to gain access to funds from the IMF, to be able to negotiate your debts, et cetera, et cetera. And we, on the other hand, are basically going to say what starts at your border and ends at your border is your business.
Which is funny because, like, in the discourse, right, or in like the liberal sphere, you often hear of China's Belt and Road Initiative, what have you, as being described as a form of economic imperialism, etc. When in reality, the Chinese are the only liberals in the room. Like they're the ones who are like, let's do it. Let's do the liberal international order. Like, why is everyone starting wars? Like, we just want to trade with everyone.
Was it? I think it was after Trump set off. I mean, he's done a million of these things, so I can't remember the date. I think it was in February or March when Trump set off some tariffs. Where he's like, 6,000% tariffs against China and Cambodia. What's really funny, by the way, is that like China's never being hit by the worst tariffs. I feel like it's always another country in Southeast Asia, like Cambodia or Laos.
Toto getting like 60% tariffs for that.
Yeah, it's remarkable, right? But China put out a statement where they actually had an image of Milton Friedman, and they were like, "Well, here's Milton Friedman advocating like the glories of free trade, and what free trade can do and facilitate around the world, and trade." There's almost this like trade is the conduit to global peace, which is interestingly enough because it has its resonance with a completely opposite tradition in the Second International, with the Social Democrats and everything like that. But yeah, they kind of hold on to a very particular stance in which being friends with everyone is kind of how they win. But this has led to a couple of contradictions. One, they have chosen to extricate themselves increasingly from all non-state actors. This wasn't like a night and day thing. It's something that has happened kind of gradually. In terms of arms shipments, for example, there were a number of arms shipments that were purchased semi-directly across various guerrilla groups across the African continent, for example, over the past couple decades. But that's sort of become much, much tougher because the Chinese state is simply saying we don't want to get involved in these theaters where we can potentially antagonize states that we want to do business with. But also this has consequences for non-state actors that you might like. Right? Ansar Allah in Yemen, or of course the Gazan resistance, right? Or Hezbollah, all of these groups are sub-state threshold actors, right? Even if they might be the de facto state, they're not necessarily given that kind of nominal sovereigntist kind of recognition internationally. And that's part of what happened with the UN Security Council, where the Palestinian Authority is the quote-unquote voice of Palestine from this very kind of legal state-oriented perspective. And there is the thing that I find extremely dishonest is the attempts to frame China's understanding of geopolitical strategy within the language of imperialism and anti-imperialism. China thinks of this within the notion of great power conflict.